Take us into the locker room that night, kind of before you yourself, kind of what's going in your mind, like kind of leading into the locker room, and then when you get in there, what's the environment like? What's Gennady saying? What's Abel saying? What's that mood like in the locker room after?
After the fight?
Yeah.
He was satisfied with his performance, but he was disappointed with the judging. Harold Letterman scored it 8-4 on HBO. Both guys are HBO fighters. Harold's a neutral judge, and we thought that we agreed with his score. We didn't think it was that complicated. I mean, you can't take everything away from Canelo. I mean, Gennady pressed the action. He was coming forward. He's a champion. Canelo fought in spurts and maybe threw some of the flashier punches, but when you have a guy coming forward, throwing the jab, landing, significantly more punches, Gennady thought that he clearly won the fight. The locker room was, it was disappointment, but look, the main thing is that both fighters came out with no injuries or, with all their faculties intact. That's really the primary the primary goal of any boxing match, because it's such a dangerous sport. You really have to, when you really look back at it, you got to give these guys, these warriors, so much credit for getting in the ring and really putting their life on the line when they get in there for the entertainment of the fans. But if Gennady thought he'd lost the fight, then I'm sure it would have been a lot more of a disappointed mood in the locker room. He was just disappointed with the decision, and he feels, and we all feel, the only way to really rectify that is to do the rematch. I'm sure Canelo will make some adjustments. Gennady will make some adjustments. I don't think Abel or Triple G thought that Canelo was going to be so mobile in the ring. Canelo was saying that he's the true Mexican warrior, that he has the true Mexican style. But the way he fought, he didn't fight. Gennady was, pressing the action. And so I think that probably surprised Gennady and Abel, and they'll make some adjustments. And with Canelo going 12 rounds with Triple G, the only other person that's done that in his entire career has been Danny Jacobs, and Danny Jacobs got knocked down in the process. Canelo was a lot more defensive than Danny was. Danny actually stood and fought a lot more than Canelo did. But it was a great event. It was a great co-promotion with Golden Boy, and I think it's something that the rematch will be even more successful, because both guys now are at a much higher level in their career.
Kind of speaking on some of the points you just made, Harold had him winning 8-4. You guys obviously thought he was comfortably ahead. A lot of fans from the response seemed to think that he did enough to win. What adjustments does Gennady need to make then? Because a lot of people thought that, except the three judges. You can't get the three judges to or two of the judges, right? And so, does he need to do more of that? Does it, what I mean? How does the strategy change when most people kind of thought he won? You just got to get the judges to think that.
Well, I think there were some of the early rounds that were very close that squeaked towards Canelo. On the judging standpoint, and I think the rounds that Gennady won were pretty clear. I mean, he dominated from rounds 4 to 9. He dominated all those rounds, and won one of the first 3 rounds and probably one of the last 3 rounds. But I think you just got to, if the judges scored at 8-4, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. I think, when you win 8 rounds out of 8 rounds out of 12, and you come away with a draw, then you're thinking, okay, now you got to win 10 rounds in order to get the decision. But I really think it depends on the judges and their judging criteria. Some judges score more for the guys that move around, but I think most of the judges score for effective aggression. The guys coming forward, the guy throwing more punches, the guy landing consistently with his jab and some of the combinations that he threw. But again, Gennady will make adjustments. A lot of people wondered why he didn't throw more body shots, which maybe in the rematch he'll focus on the body a little bit more. I just think it surprised everyone. First few rounds Canelo was moving, but nobody thought that he'd be moving for 12 rounds like that. Especially being slippery against the ropes. So you can't take anything away from both guys' performance. It's just the only thing that overshadowed a great event or great performances was the scoring, and I think hopefully with the rematch we see an even more exciting fight and a more clear decision.
And just lastly, we saw you guys take that trip to Dallas kind of last week. Is that an option for the rematch? Is that more of an option if the rematch doesn't happen in May, then maybe you guys will go there in March? Like, kind of what was that trip about? You guys going to Dallas?
I mean, Dallas is fantastic. That's a great boxing city. Really, Texas is a great boxing state. But when you have an arena that can be covered, not an arena, a stadium that has a roof and it can fit 100,000 people for boxing,
a big old screen on there.
You can't, and probably the biggest screen in North America. You can't discount that. Jerry Jones has expressed a tremendous amount of interest in the first fight and for the rematch. Madison Square Garden has expressed a lot of interest for bringing Triple G back to the Mecca of boxing, to the East Coast. And with Las Vegas, we set the third highest gate in boxing history. So you got three great locations. The first step would be to do the fight, get the fight done, and then we'll sort through all the different offers. There's different tax consequences. We're going to different states. Some athletic commissions have different percentages what they charge. So you'd have to sit down, go through all the different offers. But all three venues have expressed a lot of interest, and now it's just up to Eric and myself to get the deal done, and then we'll see where is going to be the best location to do that fight. Wherever it is, Cinco de Mayo weekend next year, if we can make that fight, that's going to be a rocking weekend.
And definitely with no Mayweather McGregor 3 weeks before, no football game that day, all that stuff is, no hurricanes exactly. It should be a much better result. Well, on behalf of boxing fans and just as a fan myself, I wish you best of luck getting that done. Thank you for putting this card on as well. Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate your time.
Right.
Thank you, brother. It's good to see you too, brother.